Art can mean different things to different people. For me, it's all about the joy of creativity. So if you draw, paint, write, dance, sing, craft, play air guitar, or even sculpt using nothing more than mashed potatoes, consider yourself an artist and join our conversation. For the next half hour, meet the artist and learn about their inspiration while we all enjoy the beauty of creativity. Welcome to Season 2 of Art Talk with John Cole Artist.
Well, hey, good evening, everyone. It's John Cole Artist, and I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. Today is Tuesday, April 2nd, if you can believe we're already into April. And I'm going to be doing something a little bit different tonight. Oh, hi, Christine. Christine's online. Shout out to you, Christine. Thank you. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different tonight. Instead of doing a view down on my desktop for small work, I'm going to be working on an oil painting tonight. Now, a little bit of history behind the oil painting. I painted it back in 2015 when my wife and I were living on Oahu in Hawaii. And it was good at the time. I painted it in acrylics. But it was one of those paintings that just never quite looked right to me. So it never showed up on my wall. Instead, it's been sitting in the basement now for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years or something like that. So I thought, you know, since I've been doing a lot more in oil, what if I took this older painting and went ahead and redid the painting? So I figured tonight, since we have about half an hour to spend together, we would paint some clouds, because clouds are kind of cool because there is no right or wrong way to paint a cloud, right? I mean, every time you look up in the sky in the afternoon, in the morning, in the evening, it's always different. Colors are always going to be different. So there really isn't a right or wrong way to do it. And with oil paints, it's kind of fun because, and I may have mentioned this before, oil paints can be blended very easily. The only drawback is, of course, they tend to dry super slow. So here's how I have it set up. I've got my cell phone camera here. So the quality is just going to be iffy, but it is what it is. I'm also wearing a lapel mic this time, which is a little bit different. Normally I would use my studio setup, but this time I'm going to use the lapel pin. Hopefully it works. This is one of those wired pins. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to cross our fingers that it's going to work tonight. And I've got some paints, and I'll go over the paints here in a minute. And then we're going to go ahead and get started making some clouds. So I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and get ready for the big adventure tonight. So hopefully I do not trip over anything, since this is really a very small space that I'm working in. And I should get this out of the way, but I'm going to be using it as the camera. And I've got some pretty strong lights in here, so I'm probably going to be a little washed out on the smaller picture. But the main thing is I show you the painting itself. So this is the painting that I did when I lived on Oahu. And what I mean, like I said, it was good for the time, but there's just something about the sky I never cared for. And I think when we look at this painting and the sky up here, again, there's more than one thing that I think's wrong with it. But the sky itself, if you notice, it's darker down here and it gets lighter at the top. Again, skies can be any way we want them. In this particular case, I think it probably would have been better if it was lighter at the bottom and a little darker at the top, because, you know, the horizon, because of humidity, because of dirt in the atmosphere, and even distance will change the color of the blues on the horizon. For me, and then the clouds themselves, they're very, very faint. I think that the picture that I painted this from was a very wispy, cloudy day, but I think we could give it a little more drama by adding in some stronger clouds. So that's what we're planning to do. Now, you might be wondering, well, what about these palm trees? Well, you know what? I have a general idea of where they're going to go. And if we paint over them, that's okay. We can just do the palm trees again later. I can put it aside till the paint dries and then go ahead and paint in those palm trees. Same thing with the bottom. I think, and it's kind of hard to see here. Let me bring this up a little bit. The bottom piece is just some plants and things like that. Not a big fan, but that's okay. We can put that on pause for now as well. So we're going to go ahead and get into it, because, again, we've only got about half an hour, and I want to make sure that I touch on some subjects. So what do I have? What paints that am I going to be using? I've got some titanium white This is the Winton oil paint, and you notice there's tape on the top. It's because these containers can tear very easy. They're just a very thin tin, and that's what happened. I tore the top here by mistake, so it's taped up. We're going to be using some titanium white. For our blues, now, when it comes to blue colors, there's probably about 1 million of them. In this particular case, I'm going to use phthalo blue. This is a Blick brand phthalo blue. And if we want to put in any kind of shadows on our clouds, we're going to want to use something like a gray. Now, you could probably stick with blue. How dark? If you look up at the clouds, especially on an overcast, aren't blue underneath, they're more shades. So we've got some options. Option number one is this cold gray, and I think this is Master's Touch, which is from Hobby Lobby. I'll admit I bought this at a reduced price, so you get what you get. Alternatively, I have Payne's gray, which is slightly more on the blue side. So depending on what it looks like will depend on how or what gray we're going to be using. For now, though, I put some of the cold gray on the palette. Now, when it comes to oil painting, I'll be honest with you. I use just a piece of palette paper on this big wooden board here. And you'll notice with oil paints, they're pretty sticky. This isn't going to fall off like if you're using watercolor or something like that that's wet. Same thing with acrylic. If you get acrylics too wet, they'll drip right off. Might get a little bit of drip like you see right here because of the linseed oil, which is the carrier for the paint. Just if you're going to hold your palette like that, be aware of it so that you don't get it on the floor or on your clothes, which is one of the reasons why I've decided to wear my apron today, because the last thing I want to do is get oil paint on the floor. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do is figure out how we want the blues to look. Like I said, I'd like it to be a little darker up here, gradually get lighter, and then what we'll do is we'll put in some big fluffy clouds. Now, as far as whether or not to paint light to dark or dark to light, there seems to be two sides to that coin. In some cases, you would want to paint the darker color first and then go in with the lighter colors, because that way when you blend, you know where the light colors are. Because one of the interesting things about oil paints is if you start with a lighter color and you want to make it dark, you're never going to get it completely dark. It's just not going to happen because the white is so powerful in oil paints. Unlike acrylic, because remember, acrylic is plastic paint with the underlying color coming through. A couple colors, you can completely wipe that out. Oil paint's a little bit different, so sometimes it's. But again, you're never going to get it completely to where it was if it was a pure color like white. So with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm going to take my palette knife here and I'm going to go ahead and mix up some blue. I've got two things of white here because I'm not sure how much of the white I'm going to need. So I'm going to take a little bit of that, just take a little bit of the blue here, and I'm going to go ahead and mix this in until I get a shade that I like. Okay, so this right now almost looks too light to me. So this might be better as more of a mid-tone on our painting. So I'll leave that. Let's go ahead and really make a darker blue. So I'm going to mix up some down here at the bottom. You'll notice it's much darker, right? Because there's far less white and a lot more blue. I'm going to need some more of the blue and a little bit more of the white as well. You'll notice there's a significant difference between the two. And if the colors aren't mixed all the way with the palette knife, that's okay, because when you're painting on your canvas, because it is such a slow drying paint, you can easily blend away any of the colors that look funny. And we're going to leave some white there. So I'm going to go ahead and start with these three colors. We're going to apply some here. Let's see what it looks like. And again, if we have to change it up, we can absolutely do that. So I'm hoping I don't knock the camera over. If I do, I apologize in advance. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this darker blue at the top. Now, I want like puffy clouds in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a spot of this open. I'm not going to go in with any titanium white yet, because remember, white is the purest you're going to get. So you're going to want to save the pure whites till the very, very end. So let's go ahead and start with the darks. We'll leave some spots for clouds. We'll add in maybe some grays if we want it to look a little bit stormy. And then we're going to go ahead and add in our other colors. So I'm just going to go ahead and start up here. Okay. And if I get a little bit of that background color come through, what are they, palm trees, whatever they are, some kind of trees. That's okay, because I can add the palm trees back in later, which is probably what I'm going to do, because I wasn't a big fan of those things anyway. And you know what? It's okay if you redo your artwork. As a matter of fact, my wife does that a lot. She'll have a painting that, for whatever reason, didn't meet her personal expectations, or if she just did it for fun, she's more than willing to just go ahead and paint right over it and start all over again. And I think that's kind of cool, because you know, you shouldn't be afraid to rework your art. I mean, people, especially on TikTok lately, have been doing that a lot. Well, hello, Michelle, and Steve Bird, you're on as well. Hey, Steve, glad you could tune in tonight. I haven't talked to you in quite a while, my friend. Should probably connect up sometime. And Michelle, thank you again for being on and checking some of this out. So I think I might have, maybe go ahead and take a little bit of this blue paint. Let's just say the clouds probably come in like this, maybe. You know, maybe I'll run it over a little bit more. We'll make it a big puffy cloud, right? Maybe coming up like that. So what we'll do is we'll add some blue in here. And again, if there's some white streaks, that's okay, because the, you know what I'm going to do? Before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and lock this in, because otherwise I'm going to lose my painting. There we go. There we go. Last thing I want to do is lose my painting while I'm on the air. That would be bad. Okay, so I'm going to leave this gap right here, because this is where the cloud's going to be. And we're just going to go ahead and paint in here. And again, this paint stretches quite a bit. You know, linseed oil, again, is the binder for this. In other words, it's the liquid that holds this pigment in place. And linseed oil can make your paint a lot looser than right out of the tube. But if you put too much in, sometimes it could become too loose, and then it'll take forever to dry. And at some point, we want our painting to dry, right? Because we want to be able to hang it up, or we want to add in something on top, right? Like these trees I'll put in again later. But the painting will have to be dry before I do that, because if you notice, I'm not leaving any kind of gap for it. I'm just working quickly. What I want to do is I just want to get the basic shapes in here and cover up some of this here. So I think the clouds over here. Now I'm going to put a little bit of dark blue here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to make it lighter going down. So we'll put that, assume that that's going to be the cloud. And again, we can always make changes. When it comes to painting, we have the power to do whatever we want to do. Okay, put some more of this blue on here. Now, one question that has come up quite often is about, you know, the turpentine. I think it's still called turpentine, that we use to clean these brushes, to clean the paint out of the brushes. If you buy the odorless turpentine, you know, and just keep a lid on it in between uses, it's nowhere nearly as powerful as it used to be. Years ago, turpentine was like highly poisonous. Well, I mean, honestly, it still is poisonous. The last thing you want to do is, you know, taste it or drink it or anything like that. But these days, the fumes are virtually negligible. You know, I think if you've got a very strong sense of smell, you know, you might pick it up a little bit, but otherwise it's not so bad. I think that if you're going to be using turpentine in an enclosed space like this, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But again, in between brush cleanings, keep the lid on. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lighten it up. I did not wipe the brush off because it's all the same shade of blue. It's the same shade of white. So I'm just now going to put some of this lighter color down here, just like this. I'm going to leave some other gaps for clouds too. I think I'll put a cloud over here as well. I think that will look kind of nice. Just like this. And all I'm doing is I'm covering the canvas. Now this brush that I'm using is probably a slight bit too small for this big of a canvas, and I think this was a 10 by 20. But to be honest with you, that's okay because the paint goes on pretty quick. And again, touch-up work can be done at any time. And you know, we can do whatever we want to add additional colors while it's wet, right? If we wanted to maybe add in some pinks. I mean, if this was a sunrise scene, you might want to add some pink color towards the bottom. If you want to add in some other darker shades of blue, you could do that while it's still wet. Okay, you could do whatever you want. That's what's cool about it. So again, I'm just going to cover up or block off this sky a little bit here and cover these trees. Just checking in on the computer, see if anybody else is online. Okay. I'm not down to the horizon yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, actually let me add a little bit more down here since I've got about this much more sky to paint. Let me add in a little bit more blue here. Now what I can do now with this brush still covered with this particular blue shade, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Oh yeah, you can see it actually pretty well on the camera here, so let me show you here. You'll notice that you can see this distinct line here. If you want to blend this in, what's nice is if you hold your brush loose, and what you can do is we'll clean a little bit of the paint off the brush here. I'm just going to use a paper towel for this. I'm not going to wash the brush out. I'm just going to go ahead and wipe off all the extra here, just like this. What I'm going to do is I'm gently going to do very oh my heavens, can't talk. Very gentle strokes to kind of blend these two colors together. You can do it with the same brush, or if you have one of these type puffy brushes, you can use these as well. Why I tend not to use these is because they're a dickens to clean, and it's because they're so fluffy. So yeah, you can use them, you can clean them, but sometimes you have to wait quite a while until they dry, and I've only got half an hour. So, all right, to blend this together, I'm just going to lightly go across like this, bring some of the darker color into the lighter color. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off. And now we're going to go ahead and do this type of number here, back and forth, to kind of blend these two colors in. You'll notice that there's already a distinct change. Wipe off the brush in between because you don't want to leave brush strokes on something like this. You want it nice and smooth, or as smooth as you can get it. See, that's already a lot smoother there, huh? Okay, and it's okay if you have brush strokes too, especially if you want a little bit of texture, because the added brush strokes can give texture, which is can be quite appealing sometimes. There we go, just like that. Okay, that's not a bad blend. It could probably be blended more, but we're going to be adding some white in here in a minute anyway. All right, back to work. Add in a little bit more white to this blue here that I had for that mid-tone. And what we're going to do is we're going to lighten up that bottom part, and then we're going to go ahead and add in the clouds. I don't know if I want it super white, but I do want enough of a blue shade in there. Now you can't even see it, can you? I do want enough of a blue shade in there so that it still looks like sky. There we go. Cool. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take that color we just mixed, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to paint in this bottom part, and then we can move on to the clouds. Now you'll notice I'm blending a little bit this time as I go, which is also something you can do. I'm just going to go ahead and do very light strokes to kind of blend these two colors together. And we'll do this back and forth with little X's. That's one approach. Tell you what, with these strong lights, my friends, this is hard to see. Sometimes it's better when you're looking straight on than on the side, but that's okay, because I think you're getting the idea. Okay, I'm just going to lightly paint up like this, just to get rid of some of these brush marks that I had there. And I'm just going to bring some of this white up into this blue a little bit, just to kind of give it a slight depth to it. And we're almost there. Now here, I'm just not going to cover up that extension of land because I want to be able to use that. If I hit the sky a little bit, that's okay. Get rid of this guy here, just like that. I'm already running out of paint down here. So what I'm going to do for this last part, since I'm running out of paint, is I'm going to take some of this white. I'm going to take some of the white right here. Just going to dump it in the blue, mix it up with my brush like this. So it's kind of close, not perfect, but that's okay. And we're going to add in some white here. There's some light blue rather than white. And I'm going to go ahead and blend it as I go, just like that. And a little bit more, we should be good to go. And what I'll end up doing afterwards is I'll probably take a look at this again, and I'll probably tinker with it some more. I think tinkering with your painting to get it the way you want it, because really it's all about personal taste, right? All art is personal taste. Yeah, let me get some of that, just like that. Take a little bit more white, going to mix it in. Oops, I think I added too much of that color. Might have to add a little bit more white since I mucked up my white, but that's okay. It's all good. It's all good. So I'm going to bring this all the way down to the horizon line. And I'm going to work kind of quick here, just to get some of this covered. You notice how fast this oil paint goes on. It goes on super, super fast. And you could take your time while doing it, or you could just slap it on like I'm doing it, then go in and then, add in whatever colors on top that you want. So now, there we go. And what's nice is that because I did it in acrylic underneath, I can actually see where the trees were. So when the time comes for me to add it in, I can add it in. There we go. All right, I'm going to wipe my brush again. And what I want to do is just go and blend this a little bit more here. And then let's go ahead and add in those clouds. If you want to try oil painting, just give it a go. You can buy some pretty inexpensive sets, Michael's, places like that. And I just want to come over here so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to bring this white up just a scotch there. Just like that. You stand back and look. It's not too bad. All right. We want to do clouds, which is really why we're all here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to take a smaller brush this time. Let's use this one. This is just a small 1/4-inch brush here. I'm going to take a little bit of the gray. If you can't see it, now you can. Take a little bit of the gray, mix it in with this white that I have here. Darken it up a little bit. And I'm going to give the clouds a little bit of dimension. And I'm going to put some white paint or some gray paint under here for this cloud. Just like that. And we'll put a little bit under here because this is where I want the other cloud to be. And then of course we're going to put a cloud up here. So we'll add in a little of that gray up here. And if you blend it in with the blue, that's okay, because what will happen is it'll look like that cloud is wispy. And wispy clouds are kind of cool. I always like wispy clouds. There we go. And we'll add some here. Just like that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is wipe my brush. It's always good to have a big old roll of paper towels when you're oil painting because they'll come in super handy. Okay. And then what I'm going to do for the cloud is I'm going to go ahead now and go into the white itself. And I've got white here on my brush. I've got a horrible glare in here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this white up here. I'm not going to blend anything just yet. I just want to get in where the cloud is going to be. If there's blue in there, that's awesome. That's super awesome if you get blue in there. Because the sky is blue and clouds aren't 100% white all the time. Okay. So there's a cloud, nice big puffy cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off, and I'm just going to do a little bit of blending to clean this up a little bit. Get out of my own way here. I'm just going to make like little circles like this to kind of blend that in a little bit if I can. Now at the bottom, if you want to make it blend in a little bit, you can. Just light strokes like this will help blend that in. Just like that. And you'll notice it's blending into the blue, which is exactly what I want for this particular look. Just like this. How's that looking on the screen? Not too bad. Just going to make some circular motions this time. Maybe bring it up a little bit because maybe I want my cloud to be a little wispy up there. Maybe a little bit like that. Wipe off my brush. Very, very gentle strokes, just like that. And we'll take this right off the screen there, right off the page, just like that. So you get the idea. So what I'm doing now is I'm just feathering the edges, blending some of the blue in. And it's okay if you have some hard edges too, because clouds do occasionally have those hard edges. It's where we get the whole idea of a puffy cloud from, right? We've got those white edges, white hard edges. So blend this a little bit more, just like that. And you can really make it the way you like it, right? It's all about you. Art is all about you. So I'm going to take a little bit of white then, a little bit more white, and I'm going to add a little bit more up here to kind of deepen this side of the cloud. And just make it puffier right in here. You know what? I'm going to bring it out just a little bit. Just like that. Looks kind of cool. So what do you think? Not bad. It's not bad for a little cloud. Look at that. Already half an hour already went by. Time flies. Okay, you can spend as much time as you want on your clouds. The idea is to get them so that they make you, I think it was Bob Ross, happy little clouds, right? That's what we want is happy little clouds. What I'm going to do is I'll take a little bit more of this white, and I think I'm going to bring this cloud up just a bit, just like this. Just like that. Okay. Look at that. That's a halfway decent cloud. Do you like it? Do you not like it? I think it turned out pretty good. So what I'm going to do lastly here, because as I'm looking in the camera there, I think that it's the glare in here is horrible. I'm going to take this brush and just kind of blend this a little bit more real quick. Very, very light strokes though. Because actually with this color difference down here, it actually gives you added dimension. Because now you can see when you look at it, there's multiple shades mixed in, and it gives it that look, that feel. You'll notice this all looks like clouds through here, and it was a happy accident, right? So that, my friends, is how you paint clouds oil painting. Now you can take as much time or as little time as you want when you do these types of things. It's really up to you and how much time you want to spend. Like some of my paintings, I probably spent 10, 15 minutes doing them. Other paintings, it's taken me hours and hours because I never really cared for it. But I hope you guys give it a try. Oil painting is not complicated. Can be a little bit messy. Make sure you wash your hands afterwards and clean out your brushes really well. But it really is a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this demonstration. What I'll do is I'll keep working on this painting and show you what the end results are. So thank you guys for joining me. Next week, I do have a guest next week. And I think it's Sandy Carlson. I'm not sure, but she, if it is her, she's got amazing talent for pottery. She's got her own kiln at home, and she makes some wonderful things. It's going to be her first podcast, so hopefully you'll watch and give her the support that I think she'd like to have. So until next time, everyone, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon. Thank you so very much for joining me on the Art Talk podcast, where it's my goal to bring artists together to talk about their craft. If you'd like to join me for a conversation, please reach out via email at johncoleartist@gmail.com
or by visiting my website at johnrobertcole.com. So until next time, keep crafting, painting, and inspiring others with your creativity. You make more of an impact than you know. See ya.